Okay, so this is the second time I'm doing this video. So I'm going to have to just maybe calm down a little bit. I want Susan Salazar and CHD to know that Susan Salazar, I find you and your weird looking hairdo and your earrings and your fully polished manicured nails and your glasses and your just everything about you and your headphones with your little mic sitting on probably a government paid for computer, and people like me, Salazar, that have been working since the mid 70s to give people like you healthcare, housing, phones, electricity, heating in the colder areas. I have two words for you, and the first word starts with an F, and the second word starts with a Y. And I have no empathy or sympathy for you whatsoever. None at all. How dare you come on a platform like Children's Health Defense and bitch about the hospital system, okay, that you took advantage of for free. Okay.
And be out of the hospital in less than a week. But with this,
I'm going to have to start it over again now. All right, let's do this so you guys can hear it. Oh, I'm just furious with this.
hospital where Kathy was,
Okay, go.
it's a really kind of like a flu or so. So for me, she didn't need it. Probably what she needed is just to be cautious, is some oxygen and bring it home.
Yeah, just a couple grand hospital. Yeah, let's take her in.
And that's what we were expecting. My mom, probably her immersion status was changing to become a student and everything.
Right here.
She, the last 2 nights, bed, I mean, they were feeling, of course, sick with a bad cold, but that's it. But when I tested positive, they knew I had one of the worst symptoms about a cold as well, COVID. And then my husband and I decided to test. And my husband had cold symptoms. Parents also, the worst symptoms about a cold as well. But she to get out of bed. I mean, they were
And
feeling.
their little props by putting a picture of the test up, I think is really stupid on this one, whoever produced it. Oh my God, what's going on? Hang on.
What happened that she ended up in hospital? How did she get there?
Yes, I was going to the second part. So she, the last 2 nights before going to the hospital, she couldn't sleep. She couldn't breathe very well, So she told me that she had to sleep kind of like on her bed, but on a sitting position, with a lot of pillows at her back in order to be
But she was also very overweight.
able to breathe better. And
Probably on my dime. She comes here, she gets fat, and then she takes advantage. Okay.
And so, unfortunately, we are from Peru.
Unfortunately, we are from Peru.
So in Peru, had one of the worst everybody. So we had that thinking that because she was here,
I really don't care. Okay, right here. Listen.
like try to go to the hospitals, and there were no beds enough for everybody. So we had that thinking that hospitals, getting to go to the hospital at an early stage will help you,
Why?
And
Why?
my sister.
Why? You see what I'm saying? Polly doesn't challenge these people. The only way the public is going to learn is by saying, why? Why did you think that was the best thing to do? What's going on in this idiot's brain? And she needs to leave the country.
Sister didn't have any health insurance because she was here legally.
She was here illegally and she didn't have health insurance.
Visiting us, but also her immersion.
But she was really visiting you, but she was also going to be a student and live here full time on the taxpayer dime.
Status was changing to was infected with
She was
COVID,
she was trying
and
to change her illegal status because if she was a student, then she's not here illegally. How does this make sense? See, what this woman's doing right now, I believe, is lying. She's trying to justify it somehow. It doesn't justify. I want you and your trashy family out of my country. And then she talks about how her 75-year-old dad had just been in the hospital having 5 bypasses. Well, for some reason, if your sister just came over and was here, overstayed her visa, and then was trying to finagle a free student thing, and then get everything taken care of, her health care. Well, maybe, I don't know if she would have been put on Medicaid, but just going on the dole full time and getting a degree, but still not even belonging in this country. You ugly piece of shit.
so unfortunately, we are from Peru. So in Peru, had one of the worst countries infected with COVID, and everybody, like tried to go to the hospitals, and there were no beds enough for everybody. So we had that thinking that hospitals, getting to go to the hospital at an early stage will help you,
Why?
and my sister didn't
Horrible.
have any health insurance because she was here legally, visiting us, but also her immigration status was changing to become a student.
She was here illegally and her visa expired. But she was going to try to change that by becoming a student. Well, who the hell was going to pay for that? You? Her? How does that work? See, I think right now what this woman is doing is lying. That's just me. And trying to find a way out of it. I'm not, you can't, how can you possibly be here on an expired visa, but then change your visa? I don't believe she ever would have changed her visa. I think she would have always been here on an expired visa because this happens all the time. I was listening to Trump when he was still campaigning before he won the election, and he was with a bunch of people he did a Hispanic conference from Goya Foods. And I remember there was a guy talking about his experiences, and he said, yeah, I let my visa expire. And everybody laughed and went, I know that. I let mine expire too. It's just like, we don't want you here, girl. We don't want you here.
A student and everything. So sending her to the hospital.
And everything, what does that mean? A student and everything, meaning, yeah.
I didn't even want to send her because.
Well, but you did. Okay. So I'm sorry that she had a rough time and stuff like that.
And millions of dollars in public services are being given to people who are not supposed to be here. Meanwhile, the tax-paying community that is in a bad way because the Biden administration's and the mayor of Chicago, not a real bright guy, says Tom Homan isn't welcome in Chicago. Well, guess where Tom Homan's going to be day one? Chicago, Illinois. You don't want me there? Come get me. The people of Chicago have spoken. I went there a few weeks ago. The black community's upset. The whole community's upset because violent crime is up and millions of dollars in public services are being given to people who are not supposed to be here. Meanwhile, the tax-paying community that is in a bad way because the Biden administration's economic plans, they're getting robbed every day by giving millions of dollars to people that aren't supposed to be here.
Right there. Unfortunately, I guess it's sort of like her arrogance, and if she would have just told the story, okay, that's fine. But her arrogance and saying, yeah, she was here illegally, but we were gonna then try to get her school and everything and change that. And nah, you were never gonna do anything on the legally. You're gonna do everything under the Biden plan. You better be shaking in your boots right now, girl. it's just hard for me. I guess maybe because I have had so many hardships, and you guys have no idea what's going on in my personal life. It's really, it's like every day something really drastically weird happens, but that's okay. And this is what I'm saying, but it's turned me pretty hardcore. And plus, I'm on several inches of ice up up here, and the weather isn't helping a person on crutches, but that's fine. But I worked so hard for so many years, and all of us did, especially like the boomers and a huge group of people, huge segment of the population. And I can't really say much about the Gen Xers, but I'm going to say, the generation up until, of the last, say, 50 years, just busting their ass in jobs that were really difficult to build this country so that bitch can come in here and take our shit.
That's not the way it's supposed to be, folks. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime to enter this country illegally. Now, and let me continue.
Did you hear that? Susan Salazar,
you continue to educate sanctuary cities. You want to not help?
Right there.
Fine. Shame on you. If you don't want to protect your communities, shame on you. But we're going to do it for you. You're not going to stop me. We're coming. So put up all the roadblocks you want, because we'll knock them down. And don't cross that line. People say Holman threatened to prosecute everybody in the world. I'm not threatening to prosecute anybody. What I'm saying is there's a line. You don't want to help, that's fine. Well, there's two statutes you need to be familiar with. One's 8 U.S.C. 1324 III. If you knowingly impede, if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE.
Okay, Susan, that's you, bitch.
That is a felony, and there will be consequences.
Yep.
Now, let me make it clear.
That is a felony, and there will be consequences. But she's just like, no big deal, man. That's cool.
The governor says I don't have the authority to do that.
And Polly over in fucking England, she's like, no problem. That's fine. Are you guys
Well, no shit. I'm not a U.S. attorney, but U.S. attorney certainly does. And we'll ask for prosecution. We will not let you prevent us from saving the American communities from illegal alien crime. It's not going to happen. We're going, we're coming. So even though I say we're going to prioritize criminal threats and national security threats out of the gate, that's a fact. However, when sanctuary cities won't let us into the jail to arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of that county jail, which means they're going to release that criminal back into the immigrant community, which puts the immigrant community at risk of crime. It puts our officers at great risk. Rather than arresting a guy in the safety and security of a county jail where you don't have weapons, now we got to go to the community, find him. We have access to who knows what weapons. You're putting the community at risk. You're putting officers at risk. You're putting the alien at risk. And I'm going to give you exactly what you don't want. You don't want us to listen in jail? All right, so I'll send a whole bunch of agents into your community, and we'll find the bad guy. And when we find the bad guy, he's probably going to be with others that aren't a priority apprehension, but guess what? They're getting arrested too. So you're going to get exactly what you don't want, more arrests in your communities. I don't want to do that. I'd much rather be safe for the agents to arrest the guy in the county jail, but they don't let us in. Fine. You're not going to stop us. We'll go to the community and we will find him. You're not going to stop us. Put all the roadblocks you want. It's not going to work. We're going to do this because the American people demand it.
I know he's talking about criminals right now, but I believe that Susan Salazar is a criminal.
You gave President Trump a mandate, and we're going to make sure that mandate's held up. President Trump's backstage. How you doing? So look, if I offend anybody today, I don't care. Some of the media says I'm offensive. I'm okay with that. If I get to live in their minds rent-free, that's kind of cool. Hey, look, for the last 3.5 years, I wake up every morning pissed off about what this administration did. This is the most secure border in my lifetime. I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. And every president I worked for took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. We didn't know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in. No one was better than President Trump. He was one badass president who secured the border at unprecedented levels. Illegal immigration at a 45-year low. Illegal immigration down 83 to 90%. Extraordinary work. Joe Biden is the first president in history of this nation who came into office and unsecured a border on purpose. Yeah. Not by mismanagement, not by incompetence. They unsecured a border by design. The first day I smiled when President Trump won this election. I woke up the next morning, I was happy. I smiled for the first time in a long time. Then I got angry again. Because even though they lost the election, they're still moving thousands of illegal aliens in this country every day. CBP One app's still running. They're selling pieces of the border wall, for God's sakes, that you, the American taxpayers, paid for at a hefty price, and now we got Biden again. There is no smooth transition. They're going to destroy this country up to the last day they're in the Oval Office. Right. But I got news for them. January 20th, the greatest president in my lifetime is going to walk into the Oval Office and take this country back. President Trump called me a few Fridays ago and says, okay, you've been bitching about the border for 4 years. You want to come fix it? Yeah. I said, absolutely. I'm back.
Right. So I know that I sound really fired up, but I just don't like the tone and the arrogance of that woman. And she had a loss with her sister. I really am not sure what happened. Her sister appeared to have an obesity issue, which if you're Hispanic, and then okay, so I'm getting into some gray territory here, but it is very common for different ethnicities to have obesity problems, but then they have other problems on top of it, like blood pressure, diabetes, that type of thing. So whatever was going on with her sister, I can't listen to that woman again. I got only so far, and it's just sort of her arrogance and just sort of like, this is what I'm doing here. And it's like they know how to work the system, and they're just disgusting. They're killing our country. We didn't have this problem in the 60s and 70s. I was a super young kid in the 60s. In the 70s, 80s, yeah, a little bit more. You saw a little. We had refugees that were at work when I worked at the brokerage firm. It was kind of weird. They brought in a few refugees from Kuwait to do some computer jobs. And I remember I became friends with one, and but she ended up kind of really turning on everyone and becoming this really sort of nasty, angry person. I'm assuming that something bad happened in her family, but she and her sister somehow escaped to the United States, and then they were given primo jobs. You know, like I said, I'm really fed up with this stuff. I really am. There is only so much a person can take, and I just exploded, and I don't know if anybody's going to want to even listen to this, and maybe you might find it offensive, but you know, I just needed to get it off my chest. I've been putting this off for like a week. So